Hello and welcome to Thoughts on the big old Superman movie from 2013, from a 2021 perspective, to give you the full context of where I'm coming at this from. Basically, the Justice League Snyder Cut released a couple of days ago, and I thought, I don't know that I can be asked to watch a 4-hour version of an hour and a half long film or a 2-hour long film or whatever it was, but I didn't particularly love. I'm kind of a Man of Steel apologist, to kind of set that at the beginning of a video. Kind of a Batman vs Superman apologist even. But Justice League, I just couldn't even do that one. I was like, meh, this is meh. But I've heard some stuff about it, and I've decided that I'm going to watch it. But if I'm going to watch it, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to re-immerse myself in the DC extended universe, or if you can even call it a universe, and if it's even still extending at this point, who knows what's going to happen. There's the Suicide Squad, which is a whole continuity mess, given that Harley Quinn is played by Margot Robbie, and also Suicide Squad, which is part of a DC extended universe, because that features Joker, who is in the Snyder Cut. Oh god, that introduction was one big run-along mess, which is appropriate, because that's kind of what the DCEU is, right? Is it the DC Extended Universe? Is it the DC Cinematic Universe? What are we calling this thing again? I don't even know. But as for Man of Steel and Superman itself, Man of Steel is the only Superman movie I have watched, and this is, I think, my third time watching it. Maybe my fourth, but I don't tend to rewatch movies a lot, so probably my third. And I have seen snippets of older movies, and I've read some of the modern New 52 Action comics, and I've read some of the modern New 52 Superman comics too. They left a really good impression on me, and I want to get more of them actually. Or I'll probably do the service thing. But as far as Superman goes, that's me. And so you're probably hearing that and going, no wonder he's a Man of Steel apologist. He's only ever seen Henry Cavill. And let me tell you, Henry Cavill, good Superman. Well, okay, actually, let me walk that back a bit. Henry Cavill, good Superman acting. Maybe not the writing? Okay, firstly, to speak about the movie in broad terms and what I love about it, because I do love this movie. I already warned you. I already said I'm a Man of Steel apologist, but I do love this movie, and I love it because the reason Superman was always boring to me was because he's like god tier superhero, right? He's the superhero. He's Superman. He's like invincible, and he can breathe underwater and in space, and he's like bulletproof and smash through buildings proof and getting plagiarized. That's not a thing. Defamation of character proof is, I guess, what I was going for there. And the only thing that they could ever do to kind of like, oh no, how are we going to take on Superman is kryptonite. Always for kryptonite. And I know I just said I haven't experienced a lot of Superman stories in the past, but I've heard about it. I've heard that it's always the kryptonite. And Lex Luthor's like, whoa, it's so cool. He's a villain who's just a mortal dude, but his power is that he's really good at thinking, and therefore he gets the kryptonite. And Superman's like, oh no, me weak now. And it's like, oh no, every time. But the thing I love about Man of Steel is that instead of de-escalating Superman down to everyone else's power level, it escalates the villains up to Superman's power level, and it suitably has a destruction level on the same scale. So the actual fighting, CGI aside, I'll get into that later, but the actual fighting between I'm like, which name do I give him? Superman, Kal-El, Clark Kent? You know who I'm on about. The actual fighting between Superman and Zod at the end is like city-leveling destruction, and actually that's something that kind of like stays throughout all of the Zack Snyder DC Universe movies, so that's something that I'm marking as an absolute win. That being said, this time around it kind of struck me as tragic, and not in a way that the movie really lays out to me, because one of the fair criticisms I think that you can have about this movie is that it doesn't pause to give actual weight to all of the like rampant civilian deaths that happen in this movie. So many people die, holy shit. So yeah, it's not surprising that my first couple of watches I didn't really stop and go, oh damn, oh those poor people. It was more destruction, cool, But in this one, man, I was flinching at every building that got destroyed. I don't know what's happening to me as a person. Maybe I'm just turning into a big old softie. But yikes, dude! Like it was painful to watch at times, and the fact that they don't kind of like linger on any civilian deaths until a like end scene with Superman and Zod, it kind of makes Superman out to be this like careless kind of a character, and we know he's not. Like, they go through pains in the movie to show that he cares about people and that he goes out of his way to rescue people, but in these fight scenes there's never a moment like apart from the very end where civilian lives are endangered and he chooses to help them over stopping the bad guy. He always just continues to smash the bad guy, even if he's smashing him through a skyscraper which then falls down, killing thousands of people, you know? This is a mistake that Snyder would go on to include in Batman v Superman when Batman went, no killing rule? What do you mean, no killing rule? But we'll get to that in a future video. All the same, my introduction to anime was Bleach, and Bleach is part of the shonen subgenre of anime and manga, and one of the hallmarks of that genre is wanton destruction and fights on an absurd power level, and just like you would, if you described it to any like adult, they would be like, okay, that's nice, Jimmy, go back to bed now with your overactive imagination. But to grown ass man children like me, it's fucking cool to see like these half demon dudes level entire blocks. It's cool, and it raises the stakes in ways that a lot of storytelling doesn't, and in that way Man of Steel feels like a very shonen movie, and I love it for it. So yeah, whether you like it for better or for worse, and I can admit that it has its drawbacks, the thing I like about Man of Steel is the thing that Zack Snyder arguably does best in his particular take on superhero movies: massive wanton destruction to fully show off the powers of these super-powered humans. Well, not even humans, what am I talking about? He ain't no human, he a kryptonite. Not kryptonite, he what is he? A Kryptonian? I just realised that planet's probably called Krypton because it's a crypt of a dead race. Okay, so now I'm going to scrub through the movie and talk about any scenes which stood out to me. One of the things that I remember hearing about this movie when it came out was that it started with the origin story for Superman, and people were sick to the fucking teeth of learning about the origin story for Superman, which is probably why this universe's Batman didn't get his own Batman movie, which I still think is kind of a shame, because I've only really seen the Christopher Nolan ones, which are really good, but I would like more takes on Batman in his own particular movies. Guess I'm getting that soon. But anyway, this one starts with like a fully fledged take on very high budget feeling take on Krypton, and it's like full sci-fi mode, full alien planet mode, and we get some really cool expositionary details about what that planet's like, what that race is like, what that civilization is like. And to be honest, I think they set up Superman's story in a really cool way as to like why he ends up where he does and what that's going to do in forming his character moving forwards. And you know, it's not every day that you get to see a planet doomed to destruction in a movie with a budget as big as this. I mean, maybe it is, maybe I just need to watch more movies, I don't fucking know. Cool though, lava plumes, that's how I want to go out. I will note though that I found Zod's performance, whoever performs Zod, to be kind of cheesy at the start of a movie, but by the end of the movie, when he was on Earth and facing off against Superman and he was just really angry and everything like that, I think it was, maybe I'd just gotten used to him, but I thought it was a bit better there. But in this, when it's like full sci-fi and everyone's like, oh, High Council, blah, 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 he came off as like the cheesiest of the bunch. He was the wheeliest of the cheeses. The next portion of the movie is dedicated to showing us what Clark Kent is like, what happened to that baby with his willy hanging out that we last saw in a spaceship departing for Earth. What did he end up turning into as a grown-ass man? And the answer is Superman, obviously. I mean, what did you think you were gonna get? But I do just want to note one interaction where he's getting really mad in the bar because the guy's being a dick, and he's like, I can't retaliate, that's not what I do, you know, my father taught me better than this, all this kind of a thing. But then at the end of it, the guy comes out and he finds that his like lorry with like a whole bunch of like logs on it, I forget what you fucking call those things, I'm not American, okay, because it's apparently an American thing, had been well trashed, like super trashed, if you will. It had been, you know, slam dunked on. It's really hard to explain. If you've seen the shot, you know what I'm on about, but like, it's half skewered by some of the logs, and then like, I don't know, he went to town on that thing, and I don't know how nobody inside the bar heard what was happening outside. I take a small amount of issue with that, because I think the best depictions of Superman are this like super genuine guy who just wants what's best. Think the MCU's Steve Rogers, that level of Superman. But because I think Zack Snyder and, you know, whoever else crafted the main storyline of the DC Extended Universe really wanted to flirt with the idea of an evil Superman, I think that's why they included that, of like, this guy can be vengeful, and if he is, like, it's kind of a big deal. You don't want him to be vengeful. Like, that's a running theme throughout all of these movies. We also meet Lois Lane, who in this stage of the movie is kind of a badass, and I really like her, but I have to say, as soon as she gets involved with Superman, she becomes more of the classical Lois Lane damsel in distress type, who's always falling, and he's always having to fly off to go and save her, which is unfortunate. But I mean, I guess to be fair to her character, the reason why she's always in danger is because she's brave enough to follow Superman everywhere and to try and help save the world. So I don't know, is that a good take or not? You'll let me know in the comments down below. I mean, I guess a better way of summarising it would be that I think she has the potential to be a strong character, but she's flawed by always standing so close to the strongest character in all of storytelling, and therefore is always relegated to a supporting role in his story, which is always less of a supporting role and more of like a emotional blackmail kind of, I have to keep rushing off to save her every 5 minutes kind of a role. I don't know. As she meets with Clark Kent, I should probably call him at this point, we learn more about his backstory and why he hasn't revealed himself to the world as of yet as Superman, because his father taught him that the world isn't ready yet, and it led to the dumbest death I've ever seen in a superhero movie, where his dad got killed by a tornado because he was like, "No, son, they can't see you save me. I have to do this, because if you save me, everyone will know." And then, I mean, the reasoning was there, and it was mentioned a few times, and it was kind of a theme of this entire movie, but it didn't stop that particular scene from feeling weirdly contrived, and like, Superman just stood by and let his dad die for no good reason. Like, they run away from a tornado, and then they remember that their dog is locked in the car, and Henry Cavill, what's his fucking name, Clark Kent, is like, "Oh, I'll go save the dog," and his dad's like, "No, son, allow me," and he goes running off, and it's like, dude, your son's fucking superpowered. Like, even if you're not gonna let him use his superpowers, let him go rescue the goddamn dog, dude, because if he gets hit by the tornado and he survives, you can explain that away better, and he's gonna survive it. So I don't know, it's a dumb thing. There's lots of, in these Zack Snyder superhero movies, there's so many like small little why the fucks, and that's one of them. Enter Zod. Hey dudes, it's me. Just wondering, do you happen to have an alien on your planet by the name of Kal-El? Could you please hand him over, and then I'll leave. Okay, thanks. Bye. Kisses. Dumbasses. I thought Man of Steel actually handled the First Contact kind of storytelling quite well here. Like, there was a lot of weight given to the, you know, whole, holy shit, there's an alien craft orbiting our Earth, and they've just hijacked our TV fucking airwaves, and like they're communicating with us, and they're being kind of half threatening, and so the armies are like, we gotta be defensive, and anything could happen at any moment, and we're all worried about it, kind of thing. I thought it was done really well, to be honest. And then we get to the town fight scene, and people fucking died. I mentioned it before, so I'm not going to go on about it too long here, but it really does seem like Superman is fighting with anger and with kind of a blind rage as he punches people into buildings, and like, he doesn't really care all that much as to the collateral damage. And I think Batman vs Superman was an attempt to address this, but we'll talk about how well it did or did not. Spoilers, definitely did not address that in the next video. So many explosions, so many explosions. Suddenly we're a Michael Bay film, and I don't know how that street has any tarmac left on it, but I saw some shots, and apparently it does, but it shouldn't do, because there was a lot of explosions. I think this is the first time that I've watched this film and gone, at some of the CGI. Like, at its time, I don't know what people were saying about it. Maybe I've just gotten better at recognizing CGI, but I think it's aged a bit. This movie is now 8 years old, so clearly we've come some ways in CGI tech since then, but there are definitely some rubber men flying around, like when Superman gets hit into the floor. And by the way, in this movie, he gets hit into the floor a bunch. They love punching him into the floor and showing him sat there stunned for a minute, and then someone jumps in with another punch and suddenly zoop, he's out of there. That's a thing that happens probably like 5 times at least. But a lot of that is very rubbery looking. And I hate to say it, but it did kind of tarnish my appreciation for the film a little bit. Like, I'm not sure I enjoyed Man of Steel's action scenes as much this time around as I did last time, which is kind of a shame because I love this movie. Oh, and can we just say the whole, our atmosphere is different from yours, and we can't breathe our atmosphere stuff, kind of felt a little bit overdone, just a teensy bit overdone, just like maybe one less line about it I could have used, because by the end Zod's just like, alright, I'm just gonna stand here and get used to it for a minute, and I'm Superman now, and it was a bit like, okay dude. Also, going back a tiny bit, but why did Zod want Lois Lane on the ship again? The only reason she was there was to further the narrative so that she could stick Superman's dad into the ship, so that Superman's dad could be like, hey, go kill all these people, and here's how you stop the big bad guy, and okay, back down to earth you go. That's literally the only reason she was there. What the fuck? I think we call that a plot hole in the business. But I mean, you know what? It gave her character some reason to be there apart from, oh no, she's always falling. So I'll take it. And now we approach the final act of the film, which has the most amount of destruction so far, with half of, I was gonna say Manhattan, not Manhattan, what is it called in this universe? Hang on, Metropolis, half of Metropolis being straight up flattened, and there are shots where literally you can see not just cars and street lamps and rubble, but human bodies being like thrown up into the air and then slammed back down into the ground, and it's absolutely brutal. And again, not a single second of film is spared for the, well, actually, you know what? Maybe I'm doing it kind of a disservice. The staff of the Daily Planet are kind of meant to be our boots on the ground point of view, and a lot of terror is captured in those moments. So, to be fair to the movie, sure, that's kind of like the civilian point of view. But, I mean, what happened to Metropolis in this movie is, like, is colossal, and people just don't talk about it. The final scene of a movie is just the government walking up to Superman and being like, we good, and Superman being like, we good, long as you don't spy on me, lol, and the government being like, okay, and another government lady being like, oh, he's hot, giggle, and then it's all like, ha 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 ha, the day was saved. And again, I get that Batman v Superman is the movie that's supposed to be going into depth on all of this, but as a movie by itself, Man of Steel does not handle the aftermath very well at all. But at 2 hours and 20 minutes long, maybe they just ran out of time. But that's not an excuse, right? That's a flaw of the movie. Also, as much as I enjoyed it, Superman beating the Terraformer doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because Lois Lane says to him before he flies away, hey, that thing's made of like kryptonite shit, so when you fly towards it you're gonna lose all your powers, right? And he's like, oh yeah, I guess I am. I'll figure that shit out when I get there. And when he gets there, and then he's having trouble with it because obviously he's losing his powers and he's feeling very weak, and then he falls into the big old beam and he's like, oh no, now I'm directly in the middle of a kryptonite beam, I have no powers. But wait a minute, the power of plot, and he gives it a big old uppercut and it explodes, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess this really is a shonen movie. The rule of cool is definitely a thing, but when the rule of cool directly flies in the face of rules that you have set within your own universe, it's a little bit... Anyways, the final fight between Superman and Zod was pretty cool, but every time one of them got punched through a building, I flinched, because, man, like, Metropolis are like, oh man, half our city just got leveled, but it's over, we're part of a safe part of the city that didn't get affected. Wait, never mind, Superman just punched Zod through my building, and now it's collapsing and I'm dying. I guess if there's one word I could use to describe this movie in a nutshell, it's weightless. The combat, because of the CGI and the rubber men, feels kind of weightless. And again, the consequences of the impact of the scale of the fighting, again, feels weightless. There's like no weight given to it. But I'll be damned if it isn't also really fun. Anyways, I thought the scene where Zod learned how to shoot laser beams out of his eyes was a bit random, that they spent, I don't know, something about it felt off. The fact that they just decided to put them in a building, and suddenly Superman's worried about, being in the middle of a collapsing building and having to dodge it and avoid it, when up until now we've just seen him, getting punched through buildings like it's nothing, like steel is just marshmallow fluff. And I think the reason they did that is because that exact scene is what they used to build on in Batman vs Superman, where Batman can't tell that it's Zod's laser beams that are cutting through the skyscraper and knocking it down. And when Superman gets punched out of the building, or maybe he flies out of the building at a super high speed, I don't remember, it looks like Superman's just lasered the building and then is fucking out of it, and we see that from Bruce Wayne's perspective in the next movie. So I think that's kind of cool the way they did that, but without the inclusion of Bruce Wayne in this movie, it just kind of felt a bit weird. And also, shortly after that, Zod throws a truck at him, which is called LexCorp. But yeah, it's LexCorp on the side of it, so it feels like this is a part of a movie where they were like, wait, shit, we need to build on this for future movies. And then at the end, the only time when the civilian kind of, besides the Daily Planet stuff, the only time when civilian casualties is something that's really focused on in the movie, and directly in regards to Superman, he has to choose between saving the civilians or saving the last Kryptonian. And obviously he chooses the civilians and kills the last Kryptonian besides him. And he cries, and he's not very happy about it, and it reminds me of the final season of the final episode of Doctor Who season 3, because spoilers, yeah, just go watch that if you haven't seen it, you know what I'm on about if you have. And yeah, it's like they don't give a huge amount of time to Superman having to think about, like, wait, maybe I should save my people, or maybe I should work to make sure that we can reach a compromise here. And I'm not saying that, like, they should have had him, like, go out of his way, but I don't know, it just seems a bit like, yeah, my guys are the baddies, it's fine. And then it's only this scene towards the end of the movie which has really given any kind of weight towards that. And that's a movie. That is a movie. So I've told you what I thought about it in broad strokes, and I told you what I thought about it in kind of more of an act by act kind of a way. So yeah, this is thoughts on Man of Steel, and there's going to be thoughts on Batman vs Superman very soon, and then potentially thoughts on Wonder Woman. I should probably watch that before I rewatch Justice League, because it does come before that. But yeah, I'm going to be doing this. It's not going to be replacing, I should have put this at the start of the video really, it's not going to be replacing Pictures Without Pictures. That's definitely coming back at some point. Still going to be watching movies and talking about them with Reese. But I can also do thoughts on movies here, so it's pretty cool, in my opinion, that this is a thing that people can do with their voice boxes and their computers and their machines and the internet, and that it can be distributed out to all of you. I don't know why I'm talking like this. I don't know why I'm talking very stop-start, partially fast, partially slow, but that's just the way. But I apparently decided to record this segment of a video. Thank you very much for listening / watching, and let me know what you thought about Man of Steel in the comments down below, or just on Twitter or wherever the fuck. If I see you in person, be like, oh hey, I liked the video and I thought it was a shit movie, and I'll be like, yeah, most people thought it was a shit movie. But I liked it, god damn it, good movie. I will always be an apologist for Man of Steel, even though, as I'm fairly sure this video has already demonstrated, I can appreciate that it has flaws, and I can see those flaws and be like, yep, those are flaws. Still a good movie. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. I'm gonna stop rambling now. Goodbye.